20 financial mistakes that I commonly see 20-year-olds make or making. We're gonna go rapid fire. Leave a comment on what one you want me to dive more into, and we can make a separate video about each one of these points. Point number one, not understanding how money works. When I was 18 years old, I had saved up some money working in high school, and I had about $2,000 saved up. And I was about to leave on a church mission for 2 years, and I didn't want my money just sitting in the bank doing nothing. So what did I do? I started asking people, hey, what should I do with my money? What should I do with my money? Nobody gave me a good answer. I finally went to a neighbor who I viewed as financially successful, seemed like he knew what he was doing with his money. And I was like, hey man, I need you to help me buy some mutual funds. I need you to teach me about this because I have no idea what a mutual fund even is. I've just heard that that's what you should do with your money. And long story short, after talking to him for a little bit, we drove down to the pawn shop and we bought me $2,000 worth of silver. Now, looking back, hindsight's always 20/20, but I left that money in silver for about 3 years until I needed it to actually buy a wedding ring for my wife. I went in to cash in my silver, and I think I cashed it in for like $1,900. This was a great lesson for me to learn early on, because then I realized, okay, silver isn't a terrible placeholder of money, but it's definitely not the best. And so I need to get educated so that way I'm not just blindly trusting other people with my hard-earned money. Because I went back and I looked at that 3-year period. If I would have put that money into a high growth ETF or even a mutual fund, I would have seen a 66% return over those 3 years. And so my $2,000 would have grown to be about $3,300. And for a broke, soon to be married college kid, that's a ton of money that I just left on the table because of my ignorance and lack of education. It's no longer an excuse to say they don't teach this in school. There's YouTube, there's books, there's podcasts. There's so much information out there that you just need to be a sponge, and you just need to start talking to people, and you need to start learning and self-educating as much as you can. If you don't learn how money works, it will end up controlling you rather than you controlling it. And money doesn't buy happiness, but it buys options, it buys time, and it sure as heck reduces stress. Number two, letting your parents' money beliefs shape yours. So this plays with number one. I asked my parents, what should I do with my money? Oh, well, just save it. You know, you don't want to risk it. Investing was seen as risky. Saving was good. Investing was risky. People lost all their money when the market crashed in 2008. People lost money in 2001 when the dot-com bubble happened. And so this belief that whenever you invest, you're probably just going to lose your money. I saw the word invest and risk as the same thing. But now, investing is very, very simple, and you only lose money if you sell. And so as long as you don't sell your investments at a loss, you never lose your money. And so that was a financial belief that I had to get over, that it is okay to strategically invest regularly. In fact, you have to in order to build wealth. And it's not as risky as most people make it seem. Think about those limiting beliefs that your parents have taught you. In order to become wealthy, you have to get lucky. You have to know somebody that has a high-paying job. Think of these money scripts that people have taught you about money, or that you think about money, and figure out which ones are true and which ones are not. Common one, money is the root of all evil. That's not how the scripture goes. The scripture goes, the love of money is the root of all evil. Big difference there. And another one that I personally struggled with, rich people are greedy, dishonest, or they're lucky. I have definitely told myself that a lot of times, and it's just not true. There are so many good people that are actually really wealthy and do really well. You just don't know about it. And it's the people that act like they're rich and are not the best people that are greedy. It's just like there's poor people that are greedy and dishonest and not good people. Don't silo people just based on financial success. And this is especially important one. If you think that the only way to be rich is to be dishonest, to be greedy, you're going to psychologically keep yourself from ever achieving the financial wealth or your financial goals, because in your mind, you think that in order to do that, you have to become a person that you don't want to become. And that's just not true. Be a good person, but also learn how to build wealth. Point number 3, you think that everyone is rich. This is not true. And these statistics might blow your mind. But in order to be in the top 1% in the United States, a household income in 2024 was bringing in $650,000 plus a year. That's the top 1%. Top 5%, $290,000 per year. And then the top 10%, $200,000 per year. And top 20%, $130,000 per year. Now, on social media, if you look at it, you think that everyone's making $500,000 a year and people are just crushing it. When in fact, if you're making over 130 grand as a household, you're in the top 20% of Americans. And our brains think that if you ain't making $1 million a year, you're a failure. And that's just not what the data says. This other statistic is gonna blow your mind. Average net worth, top 1%, 11 million. Top 5%, 4.4 million. Top 10%, 2.6 million. Top 20%, $1 million. So essentially, to be in the top 10% in the United States, you need to have a net worth of $2.6 million. Now, I'm not saying that's easy, but you can achieve this realm with just simple financial literacy and doing smart things with your money. And when I say smart things, we're not taking huge risks. We're just doing things that people have done for 20, 30, 40 years, investing in the stock market, purchasing real estate, and being financially savvy. It's not rocket science, but it just shows how few people actually do this. And I'm telling you, I've met with over 300 plus people, and the majority of them that were making $150,000 to $200,000 a year, they had credit card debt, they had a truck payment, a side-by-side payment, an RV payment, and a huge house payment. And they have no money to invest. And then they wonder when they reach age 50 why their net worth is still only $200,000, because they don't have any assets. They've just been purchasing liabilities. This just shows you, once again, that when people start talking about money, most of them are full of it. So don't get disoriented or discouraged when you think that you're so far behind, because in reality, these numbers are pretty achievable if you just stick the course, get high-paying skills, scale your income, and just do smart, simple things with your money. Number 4 that I see a lot of people in their 20s make, they are in college or they're just graduating college and they're not beginning with the end in mind when it comes to choosing a career path or choosing a part-time job. What you need to do is you just need to think of, what do I want my life to look like when I'm 30, when I'm 40, and then when I'm 50, and then backwards plan what you need to do. I have a friend who decided to just go get the highest paying job while he was in college, and then he graduated, and guess what? He's still working there, but he's applied to many other jobs or opportunities and they don't like his experience. He has no qualified experience to the field that he wants to get into. So when you're choosing what to do in your 20s, financially or with your career, think about, is this gonna get me to where I wanna be in 10, 15, 20 years? Don't just think of the short term. A high-paying job in your 20s is gonna cap out by the time you're 30. And so you need to be thinking, okay, if I choose this career path when I'm 30, 40, 50 years old, is this gonna give me the lifestyle that I want? Your 20s is the perfect opportunity to learn new skills. Don't just chase the highest paying gig. Really focus on, if I go do this for 2, 3, 4 years, am I gonna learn a ton of skills? Am I going to be able to really focus on building me so that way down the road, I have more talents and abilities to scale my income? In order to get a higher paying income, you've gotta have skills. And so in your 20s, focus on building those skills. 5, chasing get-rich schemes. Based on the data, we can show you that systematically, you can get into the top 10% financially by simple, basic financial planning strategies. You don't need to chase these get-rich schemes. Now, NFTs, day trading, shortcuts, Amazon dropshipping stores, you've seen them, you've heard of them. And I always tell people, why would you be one of the first people to hear about this? By the time you hear about something, it's usually too late. By the time you hear to buy NVIDIA or to buy Tesla, it's already gone up so drastically that you're probably not going to catch the exponential return that it's already had. And you've got to think about, what is the person that's telling me about this? Are they incentivized for me to do this? Now, this isn't to say that you shouldn't be listening to new ideas. You shouldn't be learning about new ideas. And that's why it's so important to be financially literate, because if you understand how money works, you're going to be able to see through the lines that this math don't math. And like I said, I have met with 300 plus people, net worths ranging from negative 100,000 to $5 million. And I have seen the majority of people, they have built their wealth through starting their own businesses, having a high-paying job with a high-paying skill that they have scaled. And then they are able to invest in real estate and the stock market. And they eventually get into a little bit of private equity. And they're just doing smart, simple things with their money. Very rarely did somebody come in talking to me, hey, I got a drop shipping store. Hey man, I've been launching NFTs. Like these fads that come and go. So stick to the basics, stick to the fundamentals. And then once you have a financial foundation, once you have that base, then you can start taking bigger risks and chasing maybe those more skeptical investments. Number 6, no financial plan. If you don't know where you want to go in the next 10, 15, 20 years, then how are you supposed to plan? How are you supposed to save your money? If you know that down the road you want to be a business owner, you want to start a business, well, guess what? You're going to need some money for that. So you better start saving, because in 5 years, you're going to need a nest egg that you can then live off of so you can quit your 9 to 5. But that's why people get stuck in the 9 to 5. They're not focused, or they're not planning ahead. Just like a GPS, where do you want to go? Put it in the map and it'll take you there. Number 7, not breaking down your goals to short term. What do I want to accomplish in the next 0 to 3 years? Midterm, 3 to 10 years. Long term, 10 plus years. And then retirement, which is 59 and a half years old. This is how you should divvy up your goals, and this is how you should divvy up where you put your money. When you're looking at these timelines, ask yourself, what do I want to accomplish personally, professionally, financially, and there you go. Number 8, not budgeting. Now, I hate the B word budgeting, but you need to have a really good grasp on, this is my income each month, these are my expenses each month, and then these are my goals that I want to accomplish in short-term, midterm, long-term retirement. Based on that, what you need to do is, with your budget, simply automate to where you're saving for your goals first, and then just live off of the rest. Because then you don't have to have this stress of, oh man, should I go out to eat today? Guess what? If it's in your account, if you just, I don't care what you do with the rest, as long as you're saving or investing 15 to 20% at a minimum towards your midterm, long-term retirement goals, you can burn the rest for all I care. And this just puts your finances on autopilot, and then you're not stressing about the day-to-day expenses. Just pay yourself first every time you get a paycheck, have it systematically come out towards your different buckets, and then you can just spend the rest without guilt and not worrying about it. 9, no emergency fund. Especially in your 20s, you're not accustomed to having these large expenses, but you get a car, you get an apartment, you get a house. Things cost money to fix. Things happen. You have medical emergencies. You have people relying on you. You're going to need to sit on at least 3 months of expenses. And if you think that sounds impossible, literally just get $1,000 in your account where you're not living paycheck to paycheck, as far as, dang, I get paid on the 15th, but I've got some bills coming out on the 14th. I don't know if I'm gonna even make it to that next day. Just get a cushion. It's gonna reduce stress so much. Pretty straightforward, but nobody has an emergency fund, I'm telling you. And you wanna be over aggressive. I had a client who owned some real estate properties, and he literally, his net worth was probably close to $500,000, and he's in his 20s crushing it, making tons of money, but he had $0 liquid in his account. And so whenever things came up, he was in a cash crunch, and he had to liquidate investments prematurely and didn't allow them to grow. It's like planting a seed and then going, oh, I don't have time for this to grow. I gotta eat the seed because I'm hungry. You've got to let your investments grow, and the only way you can do that is by having a reserve somewhere else. Number 10, putting all your money in one bucket. So short-term, mid-term, long-term retirement. Don't put all your money in retirement accounts. Don't put all your money in cash. You need to have these different buckets with different tax implications and different time horizons on when they're available to you. Number 11, car payments will kill your cash flow and they will kill your financial future. The average car payment is over $700 a month. That is crazy. That is $8,400 a year that you're locking up in depreciation, something that's going down in value. Just think about how much you're spending on your car or your family's cars, and it's probably between $500 to $1,000 a month. If you were to put that money and invest it, just think of the delayed gratification. If in your 20s, you are able to avoid a car payment from 25 to 30 and you're able to save an extra $1,000 a month. If you're able to save $1,000 a month for 5 years, that's $60,000, not considering if you invest it or put it in something that's growing. That's just straight cash. So 5 years, you could go buy a $50,000 car in cash and still have $10,000 left over, or you can just keep socking away these $1,000 a month payments with 8% interest rates. It's not a good deal. This is where I really am big on, if you can buy cash, great, or finance a good chunk of it, keep your monthly expenses as low as possible so that way you can invest the rest, which most people don't do. And that's probably something that we should put here. You've got to invest the difference. Just because you have extra money left over doesn't mean it's spending money. 12, if you have a family, or even if you don't, skipping acquiring life insurance and disability insurance. 1 in 4 people will have a long-term disability over their career, and most people's work benefits will provide or give them 60% of their salary until they're able to get back to work. So 1 in 4 people, that's a 25% chance that at some point you're gonna have to take at least 3 months off of work because of something mental, physical, some type of thing that prevents you from working. Can you live off of 60% of your income? And then it also gets taxed. So that ends up being closer to 50 to 55%. So get disability insurance. It's pretty inexpensive when you look at what it could provide for you. And then life insurance. If people are relying on your income, if you are responsible to get your family, if you are financially responsible for your family, you need to get life insurance. And life insurance goes off your age and off your health. So that's just why it's important to lock it in as soon as you even think that you're gonna one day want to have a family or that you're going to need it. And you don't have to go get the largest policy right off the bat. Before I had kids, I even had a $1 million life insurance policy because I got married. I'm like, hey, we're gonna have kids eventually. That way, if something happens before I get around to this again, we're set for a little bit. You need to think about it like this. How much income do I need to replace? So right now I've got a 6-month-old baby boy and I've got a wife. So I'm thinking at a minimum, I've got to get this kid through college financially. And I would love to, just make it so my wife never has to worry about money again, because when crazy stuff like that happens, the last thing you want to be worried about is money. You don't want to make any decisions based on finances. Figure out how much coverage you need to replace your income. Typically, it's at a minimum 10 times your income, and you can run the 4% rule. So for example, with $2 million of coverage, you can essentially live on 80 grand a year and never run out of money again. So you could definitely live off of more and start touching the basis, but that's just a good rule of thumb. Not life insurance advice. You need to do your own education on that. But you need to have something, you need to figure out how much coverage you need. 13, not learning taxes. I don't think that people realize that the largest expense they will ever pay, the most expensive bill that they will pay over their lifetime is taxes. So if you can learn the tax game, you are gonna save yourself thousands, hundreds of thousands, potentially millions of dollars by learning how to play the tax game. And when I talk about taxes, there's a ton of people that talk about all this illegal stuff. We're just simply looking at the IRS guidebook and saying, okay, these are the rules that we can play by. The tax code is going to favor business owners. W-2 income is really difficult to play the tax game. There's only a minimal things that you can do. But when you're a business owner, you can buy things like a camera, like a computer, and is a business expense because I use it for my businesses. So understand how taxes work. Roth IRAs, non-qualified accounts, W-2 versus 1099 versus being self-employed. You need to think of all these different things. You need to start learning about them. And the best way to start learning about them is you just got to start getting more financially literate. And this is going to save you so much money, especially in retirement. This is the biggest mistake. And we'll do a breakdown video on retirement mistakes, but taxes crush people. 14, stock picking instead of passive investing. Like I said, if you're just barely hearing about it, chances are you're late to the party. People were telling me, oh, NVIDIA, Tesla, you've already missed the boat. If you just systematically invest money into index funds, ETFs, mutual funds, and you hold for 3, 5, 10 years, I guarantee that you are going to outperform 95 to 99% of people just by simply putting money away systematically, and it's going to be way less stressful. Now, if you want to have fun with it, make sure that you are taking 15 to 20% of your income, investing in those tried and true strategies, and then go knock yourself out with the rest of your money. I have no problem with that. But if you want to gamble, go to Vegas, put some money on some sports gambling, but don't do it with your hard-earned dollars because it's just too easy to build wealth rather than hoping that the thing that you Googled on Reddit is going to take off, because eventually you will get burned by it. You might make some money here or there. I'm not saying that I don't know people that haven't, but you can't go all in on this hope. 15, not building good financial habits. And this is where I talk about just automating your savings before you spend your money. So every single paycheck, you have your money go to the different buckets that you need it to go in, and it's automated. And this is going to save you from making bad financial decisions. It's going to save you from, oh, I've got an extra $500 a month. I can go buy a new car. It's going to keep you from making those bad decisions. 16, not investing in yourself. S&P me. You've got to build your skills, especially in your 20s. This is the time to build your skills. Learning how to do sales, learning how to build businesses. Take a look at the industry that you want to pursue and just learn. Be a sponge. Become the best at what you do. When it comes to choosing a job, think of where can I go to where someone's going to be able to mentor me and teach me all of these skills and characteristics that I'm going to need to be successful. I can speak from experience. I'm super lucky that in my early 20s, I chose to do something that taught me personal finance, taught me sales, taught me how to run a business, because now I'm 26 years old and I am now working in a completely new industry, and I can tell that I have a jump on the majority of people that simply worked a dead-end job in their early 20s just to make some cash. Well, I have all these skill sets. I almost have a decade more of experience. Don't get confused. Age is just a number. I think people look too much into age, but what you should be looking at is experience, reps, and what has this person done or accomplished. So in your 20s, invest in yourself, learn. Don't just pick the highest paying thing, but pick the thing that's gonna grow you the most personally, professionally, financially. 17, not scaling your income. You've got to get those skills in order to be able to scale your income. So always be thinking, how can I improve my finances? How can I improve my finances? And this starts with learning to ask for raises, negotiating your pay, doing some freelance work, starting a side business, doing things that you can to progress. You'd be shocked. I just barely found out that somebody that's been working in an industry was being underpaid by close to $50,000 to $60,000 a year. But you know why they were being underpaid? Because they never asked. They just never asked. Especially in corporate America, if you're not asking for money, they're not going to give it to you. Number 18, ignoring compound interest. You need to realize that getting money started in your 20s is going to save you so much money down the road. If you were able to invest $1,000 a month and you start at 25 years old, at age 65 with we'll call it a 7% rate of return. Well, we're going to give it an 8. Giving it an 8% rate of return, you're going to have $1.3 million by saving or investing $1,000 a month with the 8% rate of return. Now, you do that for 20 years, instead of having 1.3 million, $550,000. That is a drastic difference just by waiting 10 years. And so even if you're not doing the full 1,000, getting in the habit of simply putting money away for the future. And it's crazy how people won't even do this when they're making tons of money and they want to put it all back into the business. You can set yourself up financially to be in the top 10% of the United States with your net worth at 65, 70 years old if you just simply take a tiny, tiny portion of $500 a month, $1,000 a month, and just set it and forget it. I promise you that $500 a month, $1,000 a month isn't going to make or break whether your business or whether your great idea is successful or not. But it will make or break whether you're able to retire and have a comfortable lifestyle at 60, 70 years old. So don't ignore compound interest. Same thing with skill sets. Don't ignore how much better you're going to get over time by simply just practicing and getting better. Heck, I even look at YouTube videos and just editing, filming. Day one, it's rough, but you just start to compound. Your talents compound. That's how everything in life works. At the beginning, you feel like you're getting nowhere. Boom, it finally starts to take off for you, financially and in your career. 19, ignoring your credit score. Now, I'm not a huge Mr. Credit Score guy, but I wish when things are going well for you, when you're able to meet all your financial obligations, you should be trying to build your credit score as much as possible and get access to as much credit as possible. Something that I wish I would have done is I wish that when my credit was at its peak, I wish that I would have went to the bank, opened up more lines of credit. I wish that I would have requested larger credit card allotments, because then as I was investing in my business, I realized, hey, I need some money. And, my credit score didn't take a huge hit, but it's crazy how a peak credit score goes down a couple hundred points and your rates change and the amount of credit they're willing to give you changes. And so if you are somebody that wants to build businesses and that wants to scale, you're going to need access to money. It's really tricky to make money without money, especially when it comes to business, lines of credit, paying employees. You're going to want a little bit of a cushion sometimes. So build your credit score, open up your lines of credit, and these are not loans. These are just really investments into yourself if you ever want to take those chances. At least it's available to you. And then number 20, building bad financial habits. I'm thinking like Uber Eats, buying cars that are, one, they're not even good cars, they're just expensive and they're going to cost a ton to repair. But most importantly, you don't get in the habit of just simply taking 15 to 20% of your income every single paycheck and putting that towards your goals. That is just the number one most important thing that you can start to do in your 20s. Even if it's just $100, just get in the habit of doing that. Set it up and then burn the rest. But also be conscious, because once you do that, you're going to realize, okay, do I really want to buy Uber Eats? Be intentional with your money. Replace these impulsive spending habits and just set your money, automate it, and then you can go do those things if you really want to. It's going to keep you from making bad habits. So I hope you guys enjoyed 20 financial mistakes that you should avoid in your 20s, or things that you should do in your 20s to set yourself up for your financial future.